Oh, we're live for 11 seconds so far. Oh, and I didn't turn on the camera. Snap. Let's see. Might get it before, there it is. All right. Good morning out there. It is 8:24, and this was supposed to start 24 minutes ago. I was here to start. I was on time, but the space arc was not quite on time, and actually, the arc had to be updated, literally, in the sense that there's an application I use called Loopback, which is for audio routing, which is where, well, the name or the acronym ARC stands for Audio Routing Kit. And I saw that online somewhere, but my app this morning, Loopback, apparently needed to be updated. I didn't discover that until I actually just decided to quit out of it and start it again because it wasn't quite functioning right. When I did that, it said, hey, it needs to be updated. I updated it, and then when it processed its update, it said the ARC needs to be updated. So it's not something I made up. The ARC is real, and it's actually like embedded. There's software that's running in this setup that's called ARC, and that stands for Audio Routing Kit, or the Space ARC here. So it's Monday. I'm a little late, and in getting started here, there were a few things that just kind of one of the devices stopped communicating properly. I don't know, a little quirk that needed to be worked out. Seems like it's all worked out now. So here we go, and I'm going to streamline this a little bit better as we move forward. I think I'm going to create a little musical introduction, like something I can play as it gets started. You know, like real shows do. But without any further ado, this morning I've got a list of different topics that I'm going to attempt to opine on competently. And I'm also going to share a song and that I'm just going to play through the audio system. I'm not going to perform it live for you. But hopefully this today, even if it's a rough effort, it can be a rubric for future podcasts. It is my goal to do this every Monday from 8 a.m. to 8:30. Like I said this morning, ran into a little bit of technical difficulty, and so it delayed me here. But that's the goal: is 8 a.m. to 8:30 every Monday morning. As I said yesterday in the short live stream that I did, where I shared a cover of John Mayer's "Belief," which I feel like came out really well. So I think you'll enjoy that. Go check that out. It's on my YouTube, but also my Facebook. And I guess I should mention that that's probably the last thing that I'm going to post to Facebook. I don't think I'm going to be doing Facebook anymore. So there's that. But this podcast going forward, I don't think it's going to be interviews as I've done in the past, but I will do features. And so as I mentioned yesterday in my short live stream, I'm going to be doing a feature on Tim Falvey, who's an artist that was based in Charleston, South Carolina for, I don't know, maybe 10 years. And in recent years, he moved to New York City. And so the feature is going to kind of be an update on what he's been up to, and maybe we can get a nice, good look and firsthand account of how things are going and discoveries that he's made as he tries to push forward in music in what I can only imagine is a very difficult city to push forward in music in. And also we're going to look into his song Reveille, which is a song I particularly really like, and I think it's kind of an anthem for artists. And so that's one of the things I want to do with this podcast moving forward, is that we look at one song and kind of take a deep dive into it and understanding it on a deeper intellectual level. And yeah, listen to his song. So I've got a full band recording of his song Reveille. I'm going to meet him at the park bench where his name, Uncle Tim's Bench, came from. in downtown Charleston and do a short interview, and then that'll be included in a future podcast, probably within the next few weeks. But today I've got a song that's called "Get on the Upbeat," which is a song that I wrote. And I guess I should also say, I think all songs that I'm gonna play live on here are gonna be original songs by local artists, not songs that are copyrighted. I'm going to be copyright infringed on. Although to some extent I don't know. I did get sued back in college for downloading music. It cost me $4,000. But since then I've never been sued about music. But maybe I should be a little bit careful. So I've also got a list of topics. And so as I mentioned yesterday, this podcast is going to be diving into songs, a deeper intellectual dive into songs and listening to one song for each podcast. And then also just a discussion of different topics that I think about during the week as I go for runs and just things. I make a list of different ideas that I'm thinking about and the ones that I think are most, pertinent or interesting. I'm going to mention those on Monday mornings, and maybe it's useful to you, maybe it's not, but that's what I'm going to do. So I think I'll start off with the topic, and then we'll go into the song, and we'll just this is the first one of this format. Like I said, it might be a little rough, but that's the way things start, I think. Sometimes. So the first topic that I've got written down here is free speech. These thoughts just kind of come to me. So there's going to be a perfect organization, perfect professional organization to it, but hopefully they're just things to think about and interesting ideas. And I'm not proclaiming to have the perfect answer. My hope is that I've got a good answer or something that can provoke good thought, and so that it's useful, even if it's not right. And so I'm not particularly interested in being right or wrong, I would say. I hope I'm right more often than I'm wrong. I think I am, but I don't think that being right is the best goal. I think being honest is a good goal, and being open to being wrong would be a good goal, because there's no way none of us are right all the time about everything, So the only way we're going to become right in those instances that we're wrong is if we're open to that, we're humble enough, I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's that hard, I think maybe it can become hard when you feel a pressure, maybe from society or maybe from other people, that if you're wrong, there's a significant price to pay. But the truth is, the only way we make progress as individuals is by being wrong. If you hear anybody speak about success in business, a very common theme is that you fail your way to success. That anybody that's afraid to fail is never going to make it, and that the road to success is 1,000 failures, and then you get your one success. So I think the same thing is true in ideas and thinking. And so I guess that's a good place to start. So the first thing I've got on this list is free speech. And this isn't a topic that I feel like I've got a really, really well-rounded perspective. I feel like there's probably a lot of room for error in the perspective that I have. But I also think that most of the perspectives that I see voiced are pretty silly when it comes to free speech, because we talk about having free speech in America, and yet on the same hand, people say that you can't yell fire in a crowded theater, and you can't do a direct incitement to violence. And so then, in a very technical way, you don't have then you don't have free speech because there's certain speech that's not legal. So I never understood how people can say you have free speech on the one hand, but then there's certain speech that's banned. That makes no sense. So the truth is, you don't have free speech, but then speech in and of itself, it's very complicated because you have to kind of define what you think of as speech. Um, I think what I tend to think of as speech is something that's verbalized, and so that would be words, and that would be it would be diction, and it would be sound. But communication, if by speech we really mean communication, or if it's a synonym to communication, then speech is also body language. And so I would maybe think, actually, I would maybe correct myself and say speech would depend. What speech is depends on the context. So in this particular context, well, you can see me, so there's body language. But if you're listening to just audio, then it's just the sound and the words. But if you're communicating in person, you've got body language. So, um, you know, I would make an argument. I'm not going to dwell on this topic too long, but I would make the argument, against when people say speech is violence, or they say speech can be violence. I don't think that's true. I think violence is violence. I think there's a clear difference between speech and violence, because violence is the point at which you're exerting physical force onto somebody else, that is, I guess, unwanted. Maybe is a way to express that. It's a aggressive action, physical action that has a physical effect onto somebody else. Whereas speech doesn't do that. So even if there's body language involved, nevertheless, there's so, but there's if that's the definition, then there's still speech that comes really, really, really close to violence. And so I think there is a clear line, but you can get right up to that line. And so there's I think that there's a lot of gray area there. Even though you can say there's a clear delineation, there's gray area maybe in terms of what should be accepted, and then I guess I'll use this. I'll pivot here to say it is impossible, I think, to legislate morality. I think that's a trap that our current society is falling into, or maybe has been for a long time. That with so many laws, and people keep coming up with more and more and more laws, and I think people need to realize you cannot legislate morality because morality is nuanced. It's like infinitely nuanced because every situation is infinite in detail and every situation is slightly different. And so if you truly try to understand the infinite of different possibilities, every situation that you find yourself in is slightly different. And so with anything, and so if you're learning, like as I learn how to make sure that my guitar strings get a good tone, all the different environments that I might play in have slightly different effects. And I'm never going to learn it all. It's not possible. But I can learn tendencies and I can learn, commonalities or certain conditions that if you see those conditions present, then probably I'm in this ballpark of what I can expect, and I can learn, roughly I can get better and better at how I can control those things or how I can get a more consistent result. The same thing is true in ethics. I mean, you're never. You keep coming up with a law to try. You see something that's wrong, and you come up with a law. Okay, we don't want that to happen, so we target a law that targets that, and that thing might happen again. But the laws also can almost always be used maliciously. Like a rule that you make, people can figure out how to use that rule in their own advantage, and use it in a way that it wasn't intended. And so I'm not making an argument against laws because I think laws are needed, but I think what sort of supersedes the need for laws is the need for good people. That we as people need to develop um, our own character. We as people need to develop our character and our ethical understanding, and just develop ourselves. And the broader a good uh, ethical development or character development is amongst all people of a society, then you're going to be able to enact justice. It's going to be more natural. Um, you know, I think that's a better way to attack it than just building a law book that is so big that no one is ever going to be able to understand it. And it probably doesn't, I mean, I think it certainly doesn't remotely do what it's intended to do. I mean, I won't go into length about this, but I recently had an ordeal with buying a used jet ski where it just clearly revealed that the legal system is so broken. I had a guy that lied to me about the condition of the jet ski. He scammed me. He sold me a jet ski he didn't even own. So he essentially stole money from me. He broke a law, and there's no way to hold him accountable. And I tried speaking to police. I spoke to the sheriff. I tried to open a small claims court case, which he just refused to acknowledge that he was receiving a what do you call it when you're served, and he pretended like he didn't live where he lives, or he just ignored the mail when it arrives, and so then they just drop it unless I hire a private investigator to deliver it or something, and then I go through Marine Investigations, which is an organization that I guess is there to investigate what legal claim on ownership, or maybe multiple different things. But in this particular instance, they'll investigate whether my legal claim to, or whether my claim to ownership of this jet ski is legal, and they can get it titled in my name. But they'll do nothing to actually enact justice. They'll do nothing to right the wrong. And actually, all that ended up happening was I got further punished because I would get charged more money to try to just get this thing titled into my name. And I had to jump through so many hoops that were kind of crazy. I was able to find the person that the jet ski was actually still titled to. And because I had opened up this case with Marine Investigations, they wouldn't let me just go through him, the original owner, the guy that still technically owns it, and get a new title and just register it, which would have been a simpler process for me. And instead, they require me to open an article in a local paper to see if anybody else had a claim on the jet ski. And nobody else has a claim on the jet ski. The only other person that potentially might do anything was the person that scammed me. And so I'm giving the scammer another opportunity. And, if Marine Investigations is requiring me to pay money to create another opportunity for the scammer to try to make a claim or to try to scam me even further. So I don't say that to whine, but I do say that to just demonstrate. I have a personal experience that shows so clearly how completely broken, at least in some areas, the justice system is. So making these laws, it's like, I mean, and it wasn't it wasn't like some large sum of money, but it was a significant sum of money to me. It was about $2,000, which takes me, it takes me some time to earn $2,000. That's a meaningful amount of money to me. So the fact that there's no way to correct that, even when the situation is clear, is kind of wild to me. I guess I shouldn't be surprised, but I don't know. I guess when you experience it firsthand in some way, you still are. All right, let's move in. I think I'm going to move into. Let's see. I'll try one more topic and then maybe play this song. The podcast is meant to be 30 minutes, so I think we're already a good amount into it here. All right, so what do I have? state of social dynamics, tech purpose, happiness, and fulfillment. I think I'm going to skip that one. I'm going to go to processing feedback because it's something I feel a little more comfortable talking about. This topic will be for any artist out there, but it goes beyond that, and it's for anyone in general. When you're, but I'll speak about it from the perspective of an artist. One of the things that's difficult as you get started performing is you need to know, or maybe you want to know, whether what you're doing is good or not, and or maybe a better way to say it is you can be really nervous about what you're doing, whether it's good or not, and that you're vulnerable to feedback. And so when you get started, sometimes you'll be really excited. You're nervous, but you're excited, and maybe in particular when you go out and you perform, you might get some good feedback at the beginning, and people will say, "Wow, that was so good," and maybe you'll even have some people say, "You should go try out for The Voice," or "You should go try out for this show." If you're maybe not, if you're not doing music, you're doing something, some other kind of talent. And but the thing is, I think when you're receiving feedback, what you're gonna see is you shouldn't take any one piece of feedback too strongly. That you need to wait till you have a breadth of experience and a lot of different feedbacks before you can start understanding what those feedbacks actually represent. And I can give an example. One of the first times I played lead guitar publicly was I joined a friend on stage in California, and it was at a little event that was in a bar, maybe you'd call it a dive bar. But not too many people there, very few actually, and so it was an opportunity where I could do something for the first time, and everyone would be it wasn't a big deal if I messed it up. It was one of the first times, and I think maybe it was the second time or something. And I got up, I was feeling like, okay, I can do this. I played, and I played terribly. I played far worse than I thought I would. Even if I played badly, I played worse than that. so that happened, and I was like, okay, well, fortunately there weren't that many people in here, and I'll live to see another day. And then this guy comes up from the bar after we're done, and I only played a handful of songs, maybe 3 or 4 songs. This guy comes up from the bar and he says, "You guys were amazing." It's like the number of times I had been so nervous about being criticized, for getting on stage, or that I did receive criticism when I'd actually done a reasonable job. And then I do what is inarguably, I think, the worst thing that I'd ever done on a stage to that point. And this guy loved it. and so, I mean, we'll say he was quite drunk. So I think that played a significant role in his opinion. But the point being that feedback comes in many different ways, and just because it's good or just because it's bad, it doesn't make it right. And then you also have to temper it with whatever the feedback is that you're getting. It's feedback for what you did on one day, and that's really it. At one gig on one day, or one job on one day, whatever it is that you're doing. And so you need to put it in that context, that it's not definitional. It doesn't define you as a person. It doesn't define you as a musician. It's not it needs to be taken for what it is, with a grain of salt. And most of the feedback needs to be understood that it's not coming from somebody that is, I hesitate to say a peer, in the sense that they likely haven't put the same time and effort into what you're doing as you have. And so they're not as competent at it. They're not as competent at necessarily giving feedback. Doesn't mean that people that haven't put that time can't give you good feedback. Sometimes you're going to get some really, really good, useful, honest feedback that you should pay attention to. Um, but I think by and large, just take it in stride and don't take it too heavily one way or another, and just keep moving forward. And then also, I would say look for the positive signs that aren't necessarily verbalizations of somebody coming up to you and just speaking directly to you. A lot of times you can notice things like, if, for example, with music, you'll notice somebody tapping their foot. You'll notice somebody mouthing some lyrics, to their friends. They're kind of, singing some of the lyrics softly to themselves. And if you can notice those things, then this means that what you're doing is resonating, that it's appreciated. And you don't have to think, more deeply than that or wonder more deeply than that. If you see that somebody's positively engaging with what you're doing, even with something as simple as a foot tap, this means you're having a positive, there's something about what you're doing that they are glad you're doing it. And so to me, that's kind of all you really need. If you're doing that, then at least you're doing that. You know what I mean? At least that might not be some extraordinary positive impact that you're having on the environment or life-changing impact that you're having on somebody, but it is an indisputably positive impact that you're having. And so you can at least be glad that you're doing that. And so you can take solace and maybe pride. Let's just say solace. You can take solace in that. And that if you're getting paid to do something, you at least did that. And so you delivered. You delivered something that was uplifting. And so you look for that and then focus on that. And I guess I'll leave it with leave this topic and we'll move to the song. Sometimes you might have somebody come up and say something pretty negative to you. For example, I've had somebody when I was performing The Grinch. This is one of my favorite heckles that I've ever had, and even at the time, I've had some heckles that kind of disturbed me emotionally at the time, and this one was just it was one of my favorite heckles to receive, even in the moment. I was just like, it made me so happy. I think, if I remember correctly. But the heckle was I was playing at an open mic at Christmas time, and I played "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch," and I played one other song. I can't remember what it was, but I think the second song I covered was "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." And this person in the front row, this little coffee shop, just told me, "You're doing it wrong." They said, "Your voice isn't low enough, and you're playing too fast, or you're not fast enough. I think you're playing too fast, and your voice isn't low enough." And I've joked about this with a friend of mine. It cracked me up, and I thought it was so hilarious. And I looked around the coffee shop, and I just thought, is anybody else seeing this? Like, because to me, I didn't have to take this seriously because this guy was criticizing somebody as they sing "You're a Mean One, Mr. Grinch." Essentially, as Christmas approaches, they were coming out publicly and announcing themselves as the Grinch to a whole room of people. At least that's the way I saw it, and I just thought it was so. It's like, of all songs you could criticize somebody on, you probably don't want to do it on that one. But nevertheless, the point being, people might come up and say something pretty critical or pretty negative, and maybe you might have some reason to think that what they're saying has validity, and maybe it takes you down a little bit. I've had people come up and tell me that I need to pick it up. That might be a really common one that a lot of musicians get. You need to pick up the energy, pick it up. And but then what I would say is, again, don't dwell on somebody that comes up and says that. That person that comes up and says that, they probably have problems. Like, even if they seem competent and cool or whatever it is, to come up and be like that to somebody, it's just, I don't know. I think that usually is going to be reflective of, maybe you really do need to pick it up. So we won't just throw that out entirely, but I think typically that's a reflection of an internal issue within themselves. And what I would suggest to you is, again, look through the room and look for tapping feet. Because if you have three people tapping feet and one person come and say, pick it up, listen to the people tapping their feet. And don't worry about that person that says to pick it up. And just focus on enjoying yourself and looking around for the other people that are enjoying themselves and try to have a good time with those people. And if you can start having a good time, here's another trick that I'll throw out there just specifically for music, or maybe it's a trick for performance in general. Sometimes you might have somebody in the audience that, or a moment in the audience, like if I'm playing a rehearsal dinner, for example, or some kind of event like a wedding, maybe there's a moment where some people just arrived to the party, or a house party. Some people just arrived to the party, and there's an upswell of energy where people are excited. I will ride that energy like a wave. I will use that sound and that energy, and I'll play off of it because it's a moment to amp up what I'm doing in a way that doesn't feel so drastic. And so we can just go with that and bring this energy and elevate. And then I can try to keep what I'm doing up here and not let it sink back down. And so then now we're maybe going to have more feet tapping. A little trick of the trade for you guys. Some of you out there listening, maybe you do that, or I don't know. Let me know if that's something that anybody else does. But I think that's a really cool, trick or tool to use because it helps. It's just an easy way to help elevate the energy of a party. And then to bring this back to the negative guy or the negative person that approached at some point, what I think you'll find is if you focus on the positive people that are tapping their feet or singing some lyrics, and in particular, if you can have some moments with them where you connect with them, where you see each other and you enjoy that music together, you enjoy a moment together. The more that you can foster those kind of moments, the more it's going to spread through the event. And eventually, that person that was negative to you, they are going to have a hard time staying that way. From the standpoint that if everyone else in the party seems to be enjoying what's going on, they're not going to be the only one that isn't. And so I would just say they're going to be affected by all that positive energy. And so they may just be completely in a totally different energy, And so just wouldn't, don't dwell on those things. Don't take those things too seriously. And, sometimes people could be pretty mean, and sometimes it comes from, I think genuinely, sometimes it comes from jealousy or their own unhappiness. It's just internal, and so just don't go there with them, and just stay out of it. Let them be there. You can engage them, but you don't have to take it to yourself. And so there's some thoughts on processing feedback, and with that, I think we're getting pretty close to the 30-minute mark, so I'm going to go ahead and play the song here. The song that I'm going to play for you is called Get on the Upbeat. It's a song that I wrote. This is a recording that I made. It's available on my website. I have recently, I guess this is the last thing I'll leave you guys with before we listen to the song, and I don't think I'll talk too long about the song. It's a fairly simple song. I recently did an overhaul of my website. And I've also recently taken off all my music, except for the 3 singles that my band released when we were still together. I've taken everything else off, all streaming platforms, and I've made the decision to share all my music through my website, and so it can be purchased through my website, and it will be able to be listened to on my website. Although I haven't set that up yet. So all my music, I'm gonna do it that way. I'm not gonna have it on the streaming platforms. And this is just something I've decided to do. And I just I just think that for the most part, look, when I sell my songs, I want to get the money for that. I don't want the streaming platforms to get the money for that, and the streaming platforms don't really seem to do anything to help with the promotion of my music, and so I just think if I'm able to successfully promote my music, I don't want to uh, give the resources to these platforms. Um, and I think I'd like to shift that in general. Shift. I don't know. That's just what I want to do, and it's something that I'm going to do. And at least for now, that's what it will be. And I think that might be the way that it stays for my whole career. If people really want to listen to my music, if they really value my music, they can go to the website. And you know, if the only way they're going to listen to the music is if it's on Spotify, otherwise I'm not going to go listen to it if it's not on Spotify. And I would say it's not that really that important to them. And so either I need to make better music, or they're just not the right. They're not. It's not the listener I'm looking for. So that's what I'm doing. So if you want to find my music, if you want to find this song is on my website. And here it is. It's called Get on the Upbeat. When no one's around, you're feeling down, just get on the upbeat. When you lost your heart and don't know where to start, just get on the upbeat. 'Cause I've been playing on the downbeat for too long. Maybe the remedy is to fall into a song. Just get on the upbeat, just get on the upbeat, yeah. Just get on the upbeat. When you hit the dirt and it fucking hurts, just get up and get on the upbeat. When you wanna cry but your eyes are dry, just give me something upbeat, something upbeat. 'Cause you can stay on the downbeat for too long. And maybe the remedy is to fall into a song. And just get on the upbeat, just get on the upbeat, yeah. Just get on the upbeat, just get on the upbeat. Just get on, just get on, just get on, just get on. You can stay on the downbeat for too long. And maybe the remedy is to fall into a song. Just get on the upbeat, just get on the upbeat, yeah. Just get on the upbeat, just get on the upbeat, yeah. Just get on the upbeat, just get on the upbeat, yeah. Yeah, so just get on the upbeat. It's that easy. It can be kind of hard. That's a song I wrote in California, and I'll try to keep this short. But in the future podcasts, I think I'll dive a little more into the lyrical content of the songs. But you just heard it, and when no one's around and you're feeling down, just get on the upbeat. And these lyrics, they're very simple. But there's a depth that's behind them, and this song is written from personal experience. Those lyrics were written when I was thinking early, this morning what word to use to describe what it was like. But I'll say this: I was living in a car, and I was in L.A. Um, and I just felt like no one cared about me. I think that's a way to say it. And so I felt very alone. But I also felt very excited because I was embarking on, my adventure, um, and I thought at the time that I was writing, I just thought these are the times that I'm experiencing right now. Um, Even though you could say they suck, or I just thought at the time these are the times that the people that end up making it. They always tell stories about things like this, and so as I was walking the streets of Long Beach, and sleeping in my car, and um, that's where the line came from. It's when no one's around and you're feeling down, just get on the upbeat. And it was a really exciting song to write for me. I thought it was going to be my big hit. Didn't end up being, but nevertheless, it was a very exciting song for me to write because it was such a positive song to come to me during what otherwise was a very sad period of time in my life. And so that's where some of the lyrics come from, which is, you know, let's see, when no one's around, you're feeling down, just get on the upbeat. When you've lost your heart and don't know where to start, just get on the upbeat. And I felt the same way, that we had lived in some ways that weren't in tune with who I was or who was supposed to be, and felt like I lost my sense of direction or my moral compass, or I lost my heart and don't know where to start. Just get on the upbeat. It's like, just pick yourself up and put one foot in front of the other. Just get on the upbeat, be positive, and start moving. And because you can stay on the downbeat for too long. Maybe the remedy is to fall into a song, and that's what it felt like for me. That song came along, and it's like, I just need to fall into this song. I just need to get on. I just need to get on the upbeat. And the other thing that I think was so positive for me with that song is, and I think something that a lot of artists can relate to, maybe a lot of people in general, when you get into music as a performer, you're drawn to performance as an outlet for expression, the expression of your emotion. And probably a lot of people in particular have something that they're suffering from, that they're dealing with. It's very hard and maybe traumatic. And so performance can be an outlet of expression, a desire to be heard. And so I'm getting to that point where I've talked long enough that without having a drink of water, that I start to really need a drink of water. I don't think I have any here. I could start to feel like I just can't quite, keep hold of ideas. So that means I probably should wrap it up. That was going somewhere, but let's say this. Maybe we can just leave with this. I was on a walk with my wife last night. Went out for like a late evening walk around the neighborhood, and I talked to her about. I mentioned, right, that we need to really appreciate what we have now. A lot of times now has a lot of challenges, and you want things to be different, so you're looking forward to the future. You want to overcome these challenges. You have these goals or things you want to accomplish, but you always need to also appreciate the things that you have now, because a lot of times, as you get towards those goals, or you move further down the line, there are things that you had then that won't be present anymore, and that were really good, and that you can't. There's no way to get them back. They were just for that moment. And so, I think that's maybe attached to this idea of getting on the upbeat, is appreciate what you have in any moment. Whatever situation you're going through, there are positives, and if you look for them, and I think that's true almost regardless of what you're going through, because life is yin and yang, and life is fundamentally spiritual. And nice. What? Let me look at those lyrics one more time. So you could stay on the downbeat for too long. Maybe the remedy is to fall into a song and just get on the upbeat. Just get on the upbeat, and then it's I'm forgetting the words. I think that's where I should leave it. That song's on my website. I don't have a way currently on the website where you can just go listen to it. You can only purchase it. I should also say I listed the songs on my website for $5. So a significantly larger margin than the $1 that you tend to get a song for if you buy it anywhere else. But I just thought, if people really want to listen to the song, they can go to my website, and I'll have the ability for people to listen to the song for free. And if they want to take it with them somewhere else, and the song's really important to them, then invest in me and support me. And yeah, that's the way I see it. If the song is really special to you, and I think yeah, we devalue. It takes a lot of effort to write these songs that I've written, and a lot of different artists that I know have written. The really good songs, they don't come about easily. They come about through a lot of work, and they come about through a lot of life experience. And so, truly good songs, they're hard earned. And so I don't think it's really like it makes sense on the one hand that you digitally download something. It doesn't really cost much money to digitally download something. But I think maybe particularly for artists like me or other artists that are smaller artists in terms of what their popularity or how much they're known. Like if I have 100 million people trying to download my song, or like 5 million people trying to download my song, then maybe I wouldn't charge for it even, I guess. I don't know. Maybe I'd put it for $1, or maybe I wouldn't even charge for it. But at this point, I just think that, I don't know, maybe that's something I need to think about more, but I think my music is worth money. I think it took a lot of effort. It's my vocation. It's what I do to make a living. And so if you really like the music, support it. I guess I can keep it simple like that. All right, this was Noah's Groovecast, episode number 31. Thank you for listening, and I'll be back again next Monday from 8 to 8:30, and I hope to see you there. Thank you. Have a good Monday.